in awe of the lady who has just left us, Una Walsh, a great historian, a great woman of South Armagh. I have only more recently met my next guest, George Kingsnorth, and I'm in awe of George's creativity, his program-making skills, and his attitude to getting things right. Mr. Kingsnorth, sir, you're very welcome. How are you?
We've recently come back to know one another, because we knew you 30 years ago.
30 years ago in the BBC, we would have passed each other in the corridor.
I knew you in the newsroom.
I was racing to get things done, and you were just there pulling it all together. And
absolutely.
Even then, you did it quietly and beautifully, and it was good.
That's the whole point of being a filmmaker, is that you're behind the camera, nobody gets to know that you're there.
That's right.
And if you do your job well, they forget about you. They just concentrate on the person in front of the camera.
I should tell the people, because George he's the proprietor and owner of Gullion Media as well. And the Gullion Media, George is the man who's publishing my book, Caritas et Amor, In the Footsteps of Love. It's the story of 10 years of travel in Africa and India, and the things I saw, the things I touched, the things I smelt, the observations of people doing great things. Yeah. And George, you had this great notion of, let's do a little promotional video of it.
That's right, yeah.
And when you get two men together who understand what it's about, you can do that kind of thing very quickly.
You can, and what was very interesting is I worked on another project, and it took several weeks to put together, but it was actually less time than your film was.
Yes.
But when we got together, it was like, I could see where you were going with your story. And part of the process, I think, of being an editor or a filmmaker is that you have to get inside the head of the person that you're working with.
Yes.
And that's wonderful, because once you get inside the head, you can see what they're thinking, then you marry up to what they're doing, and you can start to produce the material that they actually want. And that's a key. That's listening to what the person's
Absolutely.
about.
And the other thing about it, you're the master of the whisper, the nuance. I would, whether I was doing photography or not, I always felt plenty of light at it, so that it registers. It cuts into the silver on the celluloid, and I always thought that. But no, you brought to the filmatic experience of, and you can get the video that we have made on Google it, Caritas et Amor promo, and you'll see it. It's just gentleness.
Yes, and I think that was. What I began to detect from you, from what we've been doing in the book and actually reading, your story, was that you're reflecting on what has gone in the past, and some amazing things. This journey you've been on, and you're slowing down, and you're getting a chance to finally explore, possibly mentally, what it is the journey is that you've been on. And I began to see that within you. So I wanted to show that in the film, and I think that was very important to do so.
And you really appreciated the strength of the imagery I brought back. And you manipulated that imagery in the design process into the book. We must have 100, 120 images in there. We have a lot of images there.
I think, we live in a world that wants to race, and it doesn't give you time to think. And I think what's really lovely about the project that we're working on together is that we get a chance to sit down, to kind of chill out. We're working, but you get a chance to think through the process and explore things without being put under immense pressure, which the world tends to give you at the moment. And because of that, you then allow the beauty to come out of what you're doing. What's really nice is that now that I'm in this kind of reflective period as well, myself, I'm now finding that I'm getting time to explore music. I've started to do more artwork, and that can't be rushed. And what we were finding with the book, you cannot rush what we're trying to do. And the fact that we're extending the deadline to make sure that we get the book right, I think is very, very important. And filmmaking is the same kind of process. It's a process of refinement, of putting something together, seeing how it works, coming back and reworking it until you get the best out of that material.
You see, George spent a time of his life, of a fair number of years, in the Southern Regional College over there, and the people there had the great advantage of learning from his practical experience and absorbing some of these nuances of quality that you speak about. Now, it's not always that the world will listen to that, because they're determined, well, get it done yesterday.
Yeah.
But to actually have the time and the ability to do this, is great.
I think one of the problems is that we have mobile phones, we have, there's been a convergence of technologies. So the mobile phone suddenly becomes your computer, your camera, or whatever, and people are doing selfies, which is good in itself. But there's a technology, there's a technique, and there's an understanding of craft, which a lot of people don't realize is a hard graft. I mean, it can take a long time. I've been working on a film for 5 years. Because it takes that amount of time to develop things properly. But because of the kind of the belief that everything is very instant, people misunderstand how difficult media actually is. I was saying earlier on, I've started to read a book on digital cinematography. I've gone from a generation that used film, that had 3 layers, recording black and white and making color. There's a lot of technology. Now you almost need to be an engineer to properly understand the processes involved in filmmaking and making videos and documentaries. You have to be a good storyteller. But it is a business. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't really understand. They think they're coming into something that's kind of soft touch. They have to then start learning maths. They have to understand English and good English so they can write good stories. But they also have to understand about lighting, because we're actually painting pictures with light. You mentioned that earlier on,
yes.
Blasting in with light.
Yeah.
You know, we have to create, we have a 2D image that we have to make it look as though it's 3D. And the way you do that is through lighting and how you experiment with lighting. And then you've got to think about the sound, because if you've got wonderful images and the sound has not been recorded properly, people will remember the sound and they'll say, well, that was a bad film.
I've seen a number of films perish because of sound.
Yeah.
I've gone out to do my nationwide packages, and visually magnificent. But the engineer, the man who was on the camera, nowadays the cameraman is the sound man as well.
Yeah.
And he was simply going by the gauge in the indicator.
Yes.
The needle going up and down.
Yeah.
There is no, you do that, of course you do that.
Absolutely.
But there is nothing better than a pair of headphones and listening.
Yeah.
So the combination of viewing the meter on the camera and listening is the way to get it.
Well, the difficulty is, and I know I've been in the same situation, we're getting down to this idea that one man can do everything. Filmmaking, video making is a team effort. You need to have someone that directs and coordinates what's going on. You need someone in front of the camera. Quite often journalists are going out now with cameras, setting them up, and of course it's on auto focus.
Yes. Yeah.
So you get a nice sharp background, but the actual person standing in front of the camera is out of focus. Luckily, the technology has now changed that you can now get a grid that goes around you that works out that, you know, it's face recognition that's going on. But the thing is that with the sound, you can either, again, do a good picture, or you have to get good sound, and you have to monitor the sound, especially if you're using radio mics and things. If the batteries go down on those 2 pieces of equipment, you've lost sound, and all you've got is pretty pictures with someone mouthing, but nothing there to listen to.
You see, it fascinates me, and this is a sort of kind of self-criticism within my operation here, that here's a camera filming us, and we've got 2 shots, we do, but that camera never moves.
No.
It's never used. It's never going to a big close-up.
Absolutely.
It's never pulling out and going to a medium close-up,
Yeah.
a wide shot. There's no sort of feeling of camera journey.
No, and we're having this conversation and we're talking, and in the last 5 or 6 seconds, your eyes have moved from different parts. You looked at me, you've looked away, I've looked at you, I've looked down. We are instinctively cutting the images that we're looking at. We're also, because we come from a kind of hunter-gatherer type situation, you know, we're animals as well, if you like. Some people might like that. But we are constantly on the alert for danger. We're listening for danger. We're trying to look for danger, which is why we have facial recognition in our sort of minds, that we look to see, is that a face in the clouds? Is that a face in the woods? Is that something that's going to jump out and attack me? So we have this ability to dart around. Filmmaking copies that. It copies that psychology, because it becomes natural when you put 2 images together which cuts. And people used to think, well, how does that work? Well, it's because we instinctively cut and edit the images that we're actually looking at. I mean, our main focus is in the center of our eyes. So I'm seeing a big wide shot, really, technically, but my main focus is you. I've kind of got a kind of close-up shot of you.
Yes.
And as my eyes dart around, I'll be looking at different things. So we're editing images together constantly. A single camera on its own doesn't give your audience that same, you know, feel.
The extraordinary thing, if you look to the graphics at the beginning of BBC News or Channel 4 News, you see cameras on the set, but you don't see camera personnel.
No, there's no camera people.
There's robotic cameras now, and those robots are responding to the directions of the director in the gallery. They're moving, they're different shots. But I long for the time on this program that a director will call the shots and take it to its final act of supreme excellence.
Well, as we're talking, I mean, what I would normally have done is set up a camera just there and had another camera just here. And as you're talking, the audience will want to know what my reaction is to what you're saying.
Yes, of course.
I'm now talking, and they want to know what your reaction is. And
the narrowing of the eyes and saying...
And what's going on, the expressions that you have. There's an interaction between me and you, and the audience wants to see. And
they're not getting it.
No,
not getting it with the one static shot.
You do need that wide shot to establish everything, but then you need to be able to draw your audience in and go into the close-ups, and then bring them back out again once we.
You see, I keep saying that Destination Newry is up there in this program that I do, up there at the standard we have known in the BBC.
The content is really, really good. And I think that's the content is really good. It's now how to pull that content out and enrich that content. And I think 2 more cameras. Even if they were just static cameras.
Static there, getting the guest. Static there.
Even if you just remotely had to change, the, pan left and right a little bit, depending on whether you've got 2 people or 1 person here. That could be controlled where Andrew is over there. And then he would have the opportunity to actually cut between. Because his interest would then be, oh, what's happening there? Oh.
And it's actually delivering another skill to the operator.
Absolutely.
He becomes a director as well as a desk man as well as a cameraman.
Absolutely. And then he starts to understand editing, because then he begins to realize there's a feeling. You can learn all the technicalities, but there's a feeling that I want to cut to that other picture. I want to look, because we're doing that all the time. We're looking around. So you want to cut to the next one. You know when the audience is going to get bored with a single shot. You know when they want to see something different. And you're actually then feeding them what they need. And they need to see that, otherwise they lose interest.
You lose the intimacy of what's going on.
Absolutely.
People want to see how the people react and all the rest of it. And I'm proud to be associated with Destination Newry, because in essence we're doing something here that has never been done in the history of Newry ever. We stand on a new frontier.
Well, I think what it provides people with Newry is this notion that they are important. Everybody's important. Nobody's ordinary. There's no ordinary people, because each person has their own perspective on what is happening in their life. And it doesn't matter, I mean, we may be sitting in this room at the moment, but you've got your perspective because you're sitting over there, and I've got mine because I'm sitting here. Andrew's got his because he's sitting over there. There are different perspectives of the event that's going on. And what we need to do is be able to show that from the different angles to give a richer sense of what's actually going on.
George, tell the people about Indigo and about your project that you're pulling together at the moment.
One of the things, I finished a master's degree a year ago, and I was exploring blended learning. There's practical stuff that you can get doing in the classroom, but a lot of theoretical stuff, which can be boring if you're sitting in the classroom, can be done through video presentations. So what I've actually devised is 22 videos that take you through the basic techniques of video production. So it's a kind of a starter, an introduction to digital filmmaking. Allow people to understand how to use their mobile phones, but then how to take the information they've recorded on the SD cards, transfer it to hard drives, and edit it in some editing package to give that whole idea, and also look at the importance of sound. So what I'm doing is I'm doing what they call an Indiegogo campaign, which is a crowdfunding to try and raise a little bit more money to allow me to give a bit more flexibility and hopefully speed this process up, and to get other people involved in the process of filmmaking. So what we've done is, I think we're on day 20, we've got about 3 more weeks left, I think, of the fundraising. So we're trying to get people to go along to Indiegogo.com and look for its basic digital filmmaking techniques, or put in George Kingsnorth and you should find me somewhere down there. And what we're trying to do is raise about £12,000. I've estimated that the films take about a week to produce. There's 22 of them. So I've got about 22 weeks of work to actually put into it.
Yes.
We've done about 8 videos so far. As soon as I leave here, I'll be going back and carrying on with the next film. But it's the storytelling process. It's how to develop stories.
So people are rewarded for contributing.
They are.
It's an investment for them.
It is. I mean, the early ones we're just saying, if it's £10, we're just saying thank you very much. But if you get £25, if you take a £25 per, we're giving you 75% of the cost of the course, which would be about £75 altogether.
Yeah.
If you give £50, what we're doing is giving you 100% of the cost of the,
Yes.
of the course. There are a few other ones which you need to explore. I think there's a couple of £100 ones.
So what we should say to people is that if you're out there and if you have an interest in digital filmmaking,
Yeah.
with all of the techniques that this man knows, born out, we talked about knowing each other in the BBC 30 years ago, with all of the techniques learned by this man over the years, they're for you. And if you want to be part and parcel of that, make an investment in the project, it's Indiegogo.com. I-N-D-I-E Gogo.
.com.
Indiegogo.com or George Kingsnorth, and that gets you in there. And let it be.
Yeah, let it be. So, yeah. The idea is that once the course is finished, it'll be available on something called udemy.com, which is udemy.com. So it'll be nicely presented. There'll be interactives and quizzes and things. But it's also the kind of thing I'm hoping to get out to schools and colleges to help supplement their media courses as well.
And I've seen some of it. It's absolutely superb. So if you want to get into the business from the comfort of your own study at home, just check out Indiegogo.com. Indiegogo.com. Thanks, George, and also get George's promo of my book, Caritas et Amor Promo.
And if they go for www.gullionmedia.co.uk, they'll also find some of the material and a link that will take them to the actual campaign.
Okay, gullionmedia.com.
.co.uk.
.co.uk. Gullionmedia.co.uk. So let's have some music, Andrew.